Welcome. Today is Thursday, April 1st, 2021. This is not an April Fool's event. This is a real live event of the Human Rights Commission meeting. And it is via Zoom, so you're seeing us virtually. We welcome you and we meet the first Thursday of the month. I'll begin by doing a roll call. So please just either wave your hand or unmute yourself when I call you. Lynn Alexis. Lynn is present. Reverend Timothy Bogatman, present. Chief Bright, present. Chief Callahan is not here at this time. Jalon Fowler is present. Dr. Garcia is present. Shema Mansour Hosseini, present. Rashid Mukabir.
Present.
Am I saying your last name correctly?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. Kuru Pish. Kuru is indicating she's present. Kathy Ann Reinstein.
Present.
Present, thank you. And I am the chair, Janine Grillo-Mara, and I am present. Okay. We will, if Chief Callahan joins us, we will make a note on the record. We usually begin our meetings with a few minutes of silence, of just settling. And you may wonder, why do we do this? There's so much going on in the world. There's so many important things to do. Why are we just sitting and taking these minutes of quiet and settling? And there's a phrase, you cannot offer someone a sip of water from an empty cup. So it's really important for each of us to be grounded and present and sourced in whatever way sort of is supportive to us, so that we can be of service to ourselves and to the world. And so that's the reason that we take this time. So just find a way for yourself to sit that feels comfortable. You can close your eyes, you can keep them open. Just honor what feels best. Just see if you can settle into the sense of gravity, the sense of your body right here. It's contacting the seat. And feel that you're sitting in a way that feels dignified. An inherent dignity that cannot be earned or attained and cannot be taken away. So grounded, dignified. And if you'd like, maybe take some nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Maybe even let out a loud, soft, or internal, just letting go of the ways we get overly involved and micromanage our experience. Just, just here, just now, just this. And then reflecting on why we're here, why we feel this service is important, and how we can be of benefit to the community and beyond. And I'm going to share my screen so that one of the commissioners can read the mission statement. Reverend, can you see that okay?
Yes, I can read that.
Okay, thank you.
I'll read this first today. Mission statement. The mission of the Revere Human Rights Commission is to promote human and civil rights and empower all people of Revere by ensuring, block there a second, by ensuring that everyone, especially the most vulnerable and marginalized, have equitable opportunities, equal access, and are treated with dignity, respect, fairness, and justice.
Thank you. And then let's just take a moment of silence for all that has been happening recently against the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. And if your eyes are closed, you can open them. And our first order of business is to approve the minutes from the March 4th meeting. That was distributed by email before this meeting. Does anyone have any comments or edits to suggest? None being seen, would someone like to make a motion that we approve those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes, Madam Chair, from the March meeting.
Thank you, Chief. Would someone like to second?
I second.
Who was that, Jalon? Thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand. All in favor, all opposed? So all are in favor. Thank you. Before we get into the topics, I wanted to just say two things about our meetings and our interactions. Because we need to be careful with open meeting laws in terms of emails and making sure that we're not having discussions or deliberations outside of these public meetings, I do want to still welcome you. Please let me know when you want to add agenda items to meetings. If you have anything that you feel is worth sharing, it's fine for you to email me that kind of information. As long as we don't get into any discussion about the topic or have any voting, we're not violating any laws. But I just want everyone to know that your input is welcome if you feel there's something that needs to be added or there's a resource that you want to share. And you can just send it to me as the chairperson and we can follow up from there. The other thing is we do need to finish tonight at 6:20. There's another city meeting. And for tonight especially, but in general, I wanted to mention speaking and listening practice. So it's good practice that when it's an open discussion and we're not calling on each person, that if you've already spoken, to maybe pause and sit back and give others a time to speak. Sometimes it's helpful to pause. Our point or our question might come up from another. It might get clarified or resolved. And it just helps to make sure that there's fairness, that everyone has an opportunity to speak, and also that we can really fully listen when another is speaking. So it's just a reminder for all of us as we go through these meetings, and especially tonight, because we will have to be careful of time. The first two topics are brief updates, because these topics will definitely be coming back in the future. So the first one is the community listening series. We had 2 listening sessions, one on March 2nd and one on March 13th. They went well in the sense that we used it as an opportunity for those commissioners that were present, and the mayor was included in one, Ruben participated in one, that we used it as an opportunity to model an open dialogue and conversation around race and discrimination. However, our intent of these was really to have the public give us input. Unfortunately, no one registered to come to speak to us. So we canceled the March 24th session. However, this is something that is definitely of interest and is valuable, that we will return to, maybe once the community has a better awareness that the Human Rights Commission exists and what we're doing. We'll be able to talk more about ideas of how we can have the logistics of those sessions so that it might help to attract more people. So for now, we're going to put that on hold, but we will be revisiting it, and you'll have time to give input for any thoughts you have around ways to improve the process. In the meantime, Ruben did add a section on our human rights webpage. There's a section where someone from the public can click and request to come and visit and speak at these meetings. And that's why on the agenda, there'll always be like a public forum section that we'll have available. And that will always be part of our monthly meetings. And we will bring the listening series back when it seems like it's time to do that. Okay, so any comments, concerns, or questions until that resurfaces? Okay, so none noted. The second pending topic, the 311 request around the history of Revere. So this was the 311 request that came in January of a person of color who was concerned about the Revere History Museum. And first, I want to thank all of the commissioners who were able to tour the museum in this past month since our last meeting. Thank you so much. I want to also thank Bob Upton and Toby Pearlstein of the Revere Society for Cultural and Historical Preservation, that they hosted these tours. We had hoped to have further discussion at this meeting, but they were not able to attend. So they will be attending our May meeting, and we'll be able to have a much fuller discussion about how the tours went and how we can work collaboratively and what recommendations or actions would need to be taken. The other aspect of that topic, Chief Bright had initiated a motion that we invite the 311 complainant to attend the meeting. I did send that person an email giving him an update of what we were doing in inviting this person to the meeting. And the email bounced back that it was not a valid email address. It was undeliverable. I tried a couple of times and was not able to reach this person. So unfortunately, that was not able to happen, but we did make the effort to invite this person. So that is, we will follow up with this topic in the Revere History Museum. Any comments, concerns, or questions until next month? Okay, so
Okay, Madam Chair, I think I would just like to say, to thank Bob and Toby for really, spending hours with us there Saturday, really a couple hours. And it was a real treat to see all the different rooms on display there, and how willing they are really to work with us to address any of the shortcomings that people may perceive are at the museum, and update some of the displays to represent all our different cultures in the city. How things have really, just like to represent the last 30 or 40 years, that it's kind of thin, the collection there, because I don't think we've had a lot of, they usually rely on donations and volunteers. Again, it was a big, I think it was a good step to go there to visit the museum. And again, we look forward to working with them to help this museum because they're doing great work down there.
Yeah, thank you, Chief Wright. And that was what Vice Chair Shea and I experienced, that, how willing and receptive they were. But it was important for each of you to go there and experience that. And I'm hoping that this collaboration will be a way that the community will have a better awareness of the HRC and how we want to work with other parts of the community. Kathy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to echo what the chief said. It was really great to be back at the Cultural Historical Building. I haven't been there in a long time. They've done an incredible amount of work organizing everything they have. I just want to especially say it was really nice to be with some of the commissioners in person. And it was really nice to have those conversations. And I just want to say I'm really looking forward to the time that we're all actually get to be in the same room and have these meetings. So thank you all again.
Thank you, Kathy. I've heard that from many people. Okay. Anything else before we can go on? Okay. Thank you all. Okay. So the first topic for discussion is the anti-racism and anti-oppression training for commissioners. Before, I think a couple of weeks ago or 10 days ago, I emailed the commission some details from Courage of Care Coalition, and that included a customized proposal, which would be just for this group. I have that to screen share if we need it for reference. And then there was another option that they have recently launched, a leadership institute for, I forget the exact name, I think it's diversity and equity. That option is a little bit less expensive and does include 4 instructors rather than just 2, 4 facilitators. However, the dates, we don't have any control over the dates. We would have to fit into their schedule, and it would not be just us. We would be with other groups like us, which there's pros and cons to that. So Shay, would you like to, I don't want you to feel like you're multitasking too much. Would you like to call on each person? Do you feel you can do that, or do you want me to do that?
I could do that.
Okay, so before we do that, I'm just going to ask that you call on the Reverend first, because with Holy Week and Holy Thursday, he cannot stay the full meeting, so he can give his input. So if you could start with him, and then everyone will have an opportunity to give their input, and just request if you want me to screen share any of those resources.
Yeah, of course. So like what Madam Chair Janine said, Reverend, would you mind going first to voice your opinion?
And I'm curious to know, excuse me.
Yeah.
Basically, do you prefer one over the other? What do you see as certain advantages or disadvantages? What do you feel is sort of non-negotiable, or what are you flexible with, or just any thoughts you have or any preferences, if I didn't make that clear. Go ahead, Reverend.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Yeah, just a couple thoughts with this. I think option one is the better option from my perspective. I think being able to meet together and us choosing our schedule is huge. We all have very busy schedules, and I think being able for us to negotiate that with each other rather than having it given to us, which would be a lot harder, and there will be some of us who won't be there. I think, as Kathy had mentioned earlier, us all being together is essential, or as close to as many of us that can be there, because us seeing each other, talking to each other in person, if we can. We may be online, I don't know, but if we can, I think it's a very valuable thing. And just having that time together this past week showed that, and I think we should push for that. So option one, for the reason of us choosing our schedule, it just being us learning together. I know the money is a concern, and I think that is a factor. I mean, if we don't have the money, then we obviously need to rethink it. But if we can have that money, I think option one in the ideal world would be the best choice. And I think that would allow us to interact with each other, to work together, and have a chance to learn from each other and hear from each other in a way that we haven't been able to in these meetings. So I think that's why I would choose that. But I would understand option two has some other benefits with 4 facilities versus 2 and elsewhere, but that's where I lean.
Okay, so you prefer, if you had a choice, you'd prefer option one, primarily because we could choose the schedule and it would be just us to deepen our connection and learn from each other. You do understand that money is a concern and that may not be possible, but that would be your choice if you had a vote. Is that correct?
In summary.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you very much for that, to Reverend. Do you mind? I would like to pass it on to Dr. Garcia.
Oh. Oh.
I think Reverend just nail it. I think that's just the experience at the museum really supports what he said. I think that it's a great way for us to develop a meaningful relationship among ourselves. I never met Reverend, nor I met Kuru in person or Kathy in person, but there was such a nice bond right there the minute we saw each other. And I think a training like this, together, just us, will reinforce that. It will reinforce our mission. It will reinforce our vision. And I think it'll be great. So I'll support option one.
Let the record reflect that Chief Callahan has just arrived. And Dr. Garcia, if I heard you correctly, you basically agree with what Reverend said, and the importance of it being just us will help us also to reinforce the mission and vision for the HRC. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that, Dr. Garcia. I would like to pass it on to Kathy Reinstein.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I think, so first, I think I agree with my two colleagues that spoke before me. I think if we have an option, I think option one is better. There's really not much of a difference in cost. And I will say, where I work at ROCA, we are doing training, and granted it's how we're doing these meetings, but it's just us. And I feel like there is something really beneficial about that, and getting to know your colleagues. And, I work with a very diverse group of people at ROCA, and this is a very diverse group. And I think it would be great if we had the choice to just be us. Thank you.
Okay, so Kathy, you agree with who's gone before, and you actually have direct current experience now at ROCA and the value of that. I'd like to just clarify for the group the money. The customized option for phases 1 and 2 is probably about $10,000. And then there is a recommended phase 3, which is more follow-up. but that we could probably push off a bit until we have a budget. Option 2, I think, was about 8,000. So it's not a huge difference, but those are the numbers in case it's not, you're not recalling it or you don't have it in front of you. Thank you, Kathy. Sorry, Shay, I stepped on you. Thank you.
No, you're good, Madam Chair. Thank you very much for that, Kathy. I would like to pass it on to Jalon.
Thank you. I'm excited as well about us being together and deepening the bond and getting to know each other. I think that would be really advantageous for us. So number 1 gets my vote. I have to be honest though, I don't quite understand the training as it's presented, I'll be perfectly honest. So I think the idea of getting to customize the agenda with their input would be, it would help with that. I'm not sure if we'll be learning ourselves to better ourselves, or learning how to organize and lead and galvanize people, or all of the above. So I think we can have that flexibility, because I looked on the site and saw some of their clientele, and I think if we got paired up with some of the organizations, that might be a really different and distinct kind of way to train versus what we're doing as an HRC. So I think that really would be beneficial if we could customize for us and be together. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
So like option 1, the customized option with just us and that value, that is a great point about we could get paired up with a group that sort of was in a somewhat different kind of focus. And would that be as helpful for us? And in terms of not being clear on the training, I don't know if you're talking about both options.
Like what does capacity building in our sense mean? Like there's a lot about that in terms of a survey and data gathering. I just need context. I don't understand what that means.
So I would say that with the customized version, we definitely would have the ability to have, pre-training conversations around that and be able to clarify and make specific requests and go in certain directions. So that would, the customized proposal would definitely help address that. From working with this group, capacity building, they could need just the capacity to not burn out, to the capacity for the presence, the service, without having it be at the risk of burnout. But, I'm not exactly sure because I don't know what part you read. But definitely the customized proposal allows us, there's some pre-training interviews that we could have a small group of us work with the facilitators and be able to, decide which direction we want to go. So thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Jalon. I would like to pass it to Chief Chris Bright.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in agreement with the previous commissioners on I'm in favor of option number 1. I think this is probably the best choice for us as an HRC, and we don't have the money right now anyhow, but it looks like the difference in the 2 options, it's to customize our own training and to have that flexibility. And I think the difference in price is really kind of negligible, that I would be in agreement for option 1 also. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Bright. So you are in agreement, with the previous commissioners, you feel number 1 is the best choice, the customized version. And even though there is a difference in cost, your feeling is it's not that substantial. Correct?
That is a great summation, and that is correct. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Chief Chris Bright. I would like to pass it on to Karu.
I also agreed with all the commissioners who have spoke earlier. I think it would be a good investment for our group to choose option 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Karu. And that's a nice way of looking at it, that it's an investment. It's not just about dollars and cents, but it's the investment in our training.
Thank you very much for that, Karu. I would like to pass it on to Lynn Alexis.
Thank you. So for all the reasons that were previously stated, I agree that option 1 is a great choice.
Okay. Thank you, Lynn. I don't think I have to really do any reflective listening there.
Thank you very much for that, Lynn. I would like to pass it on to David Callahan. I meant Chief David Callahan, sorry.
No, thank you. First, I want to apologize for being late. I was just tied up into another matter that I couldn't get away from. And I apologize. But I agree with the option number 1, the customized thing that's probably good for our group. And it would work best for us, that it's kind of put together for our situation and some of the issues we have.
So that basically option 1 would allow us to customize it for the specific issues that the Revere HRC will face.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Chief Callahan. I would like to pass it on to, sorry, thank you. I would like to pass it on to Rashid.
Thank you so much. I would add my voice to the rest of the commissioner. I'd support option number 1 for a couple of reasons. We are a newly established group. I think it will make a sense to have only us and have a customized training for us. Maybe for the second or third training, we could fit in other groups. But for the first one, I would support option number 1. And from my understanding, we have no money for either option 1 or option 2. So we should probably start thinking, I know that's probably a grant writing is the job description of the director of the HRC. However, probably we could start looking for some small grants that may support our mission. And perhaps it could be used toward this training. And we have a good cause, and there are plenty of grants that may support this cause.
Thank you, Rashid. You agreed with others with option 1, and you made the point that because we're a newly established group, it especially makes sense for this first training to be only us. You mentioned about funding, and I think when we're all done, I'll ask Ruben to speak briefly about funding. So we'll sort of get back to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Rashid. I would like to pass it on to Madam Chair Janine.
I would be open. I would prefer custom 1, but would be open. I would prefer option 1, but would have been open to either if it seemed we needed to go to option 2. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Vice Chair Shea.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Would you like to say something, Shea?
Yeah, of course. I agree with everyone. Based off, I think option 1 is the better choice. Especially with Karu's point that it is a very good investment, and to emphasize what Rashid said, that like we are a newer commission, and that a customized agenda with just us would make a lot more sense. And then as we grow further along as a commission, it would make sense to bring other organizations along. So I think, you know, ideally option one, but obviously when we talk about like finances and stuff, like whatever option we can afford at the time, I'm open to take it as well.
Thank you, Shay. So you agree with the other commissioners, and especially the points that Karu made about it being a good investment, and Rashid, that we're a newly established group. You would have been open, but the preference is for number one.
Yes, ma'am.
So Ruben, could you speak, please? Could we see you, and maybe you could speak with some thoughts about any funding, and if any resources or thoughts, ideas?
Well, I don't have anything solid, but I can say that that I am happy to take the request of the HRC, and I will bring it to first HR, because I think they have some budget for training, and if there is not enough available in that budget, I will shake the trees a little and see what I could do to ensure that the HRC has the funding available to do this training, because it sounds like a great idea.
And Ruben, did you, I think Kathy had given you a resource after the last meeting, someone that gave some funds for nonprofit training. I think you did follow up with them, but you did not get a response yet. Is that correct?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. The emails that I sent to that entity all bounced back.
Oh,
So, so I was unsuccessful at reaching them, actually.
okay. Okay.
I can poke around a little bit more and see, but yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Months are so long in my world right now. But yeah, I think that we can figure out a way to make this work.
Okay. So if Ruben can give me some kind of green light that it looks like we could get funding, at least for the phases 1 and 2 of the customized proposal. So this is contingent on funding. Would someone like to make a motion that we proceed with the customized proposal, and I would follow up with the Courage of Care Coalition and start to determine what the next steps would be? Is that clear what I'm asking?
Motion to go with the first proposal for training.
I'll second that.
Okay, so that was Lynn and Kathy. Okay. And all in favor of this motion to at least contingent on funding, proceed with option 1, and at least take the next steps of what needs to happen. So Dr. Garcia, did you raise your hand? Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. All in favor? All opposed? So none opposed, all in favor. Great. All right. So the next topic is the Asian solidarity or anti-racism statement. First off, thank you for those of you that sent some resources. Ruben had sent a statement from the Boston City Council. Dr. Garcia had sent a letter from the mayor and Dr. Kelly, which was recently issued in the city, as well as another link. Before we get into this topic, I'd like to just say that we need to consider that if we want the full body to approve this, that means this would have to get bumped for a month. So tonight we need to decide if we agree that we feel we want to submit a statement from the HRC. We could decide that we will simply support what Mayor Arrigo and Dr. Kelly have already submitted on behalf of the city. We could support that, but if we wanted to create our own, I would suggest that we consider getting input from the group now, and then tasking 2 commissioners with the job of sort of putting that into final form so that those 2 commissioners would be like a working team. It's not violating open meeting laws. We would give them the authority that they could finalize the statement and submit it to Ruben and myself. So if we do go the route of creating and issuing a statement so that we don't have to wait till next month to agree and approve as a body, which really I would rather not do and does not feel like it makes sense in terms of what's happening in the world. That's just something to consider, that we would have a pair of commissioners do the final editing and tweaking to then submit. But that would be based on whatever input is provided now. So does everyone understand what I'm suggesting? Just because of the timing nature of our meetings and motions and approvals. So that being said, before we continue, I just need to check something because someone is here that's, okay. So should we, Ruben, we do have someone that's in attendance. Should I hand this over to you first before we have further discussions?
Sure. There's an attendee who has sent me a note asking if she can ask a brief question related to anti-Asian hate crimes in Revere. So I am going to make her microphone live, and her name is Lisa Benleo, and I probably mispronounced her last name. So Lisa, you are now able to talk. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I was just curious if there has been a number or any or how many crimes, against Asians have been reported in the year 2020 and into 2021.
Thank you, Lisa, and we welcome you. I believe Chief Callahan, were you going to respond to this?
Yes. To my knowledge, we have not had any hate crimes involving Asian residents of the city in those time spans. There hasn't been any reported.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, does that answer your question? We haven't had any officially reported here at the Revere Police Department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is good to hear. And I'm a middle-aged female Asian woman, and I don't think, not that I didn't know what was going on, but just seeing everything as of late, probably in this past, month, 2 months, it definitely makes me be on more of a high alert on who's around me, where I'm going, if I'm going by myself. So I'm just curious if there's, I guess it's a little bit hard if you haven't had anything reported, but is anything being done to ensure that it continues to be a safe space here in Revere for Asians?
Well, we've been paying attention to things going on in the community, and especially in light just with the current events. And officers have been a little more diligent in checking the area. But I'll be honest with you, Lisa, we have a pretty good community here compared to some things that go on in other communities. We are very fortunate that we don't have those issues here. Everybody seems to get along well, and the community is diverse. And we've been very fortunate that we haven't had those issues, and hopefully we never do.
Okay. Well, yep, it's my 18th, is it? Yeah, I think it's my 18th year here in Revere. So okay. I do think it is a great community. And like I said, having it be so diverse, it's just not something that I've worried about, in the past. But like I said, just in light of everything that's going on, just curious if things are happening around me that I should be aware of.
No, but just you should pay attention. You just never know what can happen. But like I said, we're very fortunate here. We haven't had some of those issues, and I'm sorry you feel that way. No one should have to feel like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just nothing you, like I said in the past, that you think about. You know, I have, children. My middle-aged daughter is 12, and I wouldn't have had a second thought if I'm at one end of the beach and she's at the other taking a walk. But now I do think twice for her safety and for my own. If I'm sitting on a bench by myself and she's taking a walk, further down by herself, or, riding her bike. So, yeah, just definitely something I'm more conscious of now.
Okay, and just to reassure you too, down at the beach, the state police do a pretty good job down there. And when the summer months come, they'll have more people around. There'll be more officers visible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for addressing my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
And Lisa,
You as well.
Lisa, wait 1 second. It seems like Chief Bright, did you want to say something?
If Lisa's still on the line, I'd be curious to hear from her as an Asian American member of the community. Has she experienced anything she'd like to share with us?
I am very fortunate where I haven't. And I think what's really, besides seeing all the violence against, especially like the elderly, men and women out there, is that I have family in New York and I have family in San Francisco. And those communities, similar to Revere where it's diverse, but also in those communities where there's like huge number of Asian population, but that's where we're hearing a lot of the crimes between Oakland and San Francisco and New York. So I guess hearing that is definitely very, very frightening. And like I said, being in Revere, I've kind of, went through this with 9/11 because my husband's a Muslim. So there was a lot of fear around that time for his own safety. And now here we are. And I'm like, oh, okay, now with all this Asian hate, now I'm worrying for my own safety. And then I think of my children, I'm like, half, half Arabic, half Chinese. I'm like, oh, is that the best of both worlds or the worst of both worlds right now, in light of what is going on in the world and in society today and time. So like I said, it just really made me pause. And it's just certainly very, very sad to hear and see what, what is happening.
Lisa, thank you. Karu, are you, I'm just energetically sensing that are you looking to say something, Karu?
Well, I mean, there aren't any severe crime that have reported, and many communities have experienced microaggression from others group around, telling people to go back home. People don't feel safe walking on the street. People have been looking at, differently get intimidated. And my family have experienced, people just stop the car when we walk on the beach and tell us to go back homes and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of those microaggression.
Oh, thank you, Karu. And Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. This is what we need. This is what we want to hear from the community, and to have the community, really engage with us. So I'm so happy that you chose to join and you had the courage to speak up. So thank you so much. And please join us again at some point in the future.
Yeah, I think, in the future, or if someone were interested, I would love to share even the perspective from my 12-year-old daughter. As I mentioned, she wrote some poetry, and again, she hasn't personally experienced it because we've been home this past year and last year due to COVID. School is at home right now, but some of the poetry that she wrote from the news that she's heard and what she's seen in media, and like I said, from the perspective of a 12-year-old, it stopped me in my tracks. And I shared it with my DEI committee at my work that I'm a part of. And, they were very moved by her poetry. And at the same time, very saddened, but it's the reality of where we are. It's just not me as a middle-aged female Asian woman feeling it. Even my 12-year-old, from what she's exposed to via the media, feels the same.
You know, Lisa, I would welcome you if you wanted to. You could follow up. We have a webpage, and you could please share that. You could also, if Ruben has your email, I can follow up with you after the meeting. It would be lovely to have this poetry, and there might be a way that we can somehow weave it into some of the work that we're doing. So if you wanted to share it, you're welcome to.
All right, I will. I'll talk to my daughter about that.
Okay, and then you can, Ruben, if you go onto the Revere website and go under the boards and the Human Rights Commission, we have our own webpage, and that's how that you can get in touch with us.
You found that.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
All right. So we have about, yes, Lynn, go ahead. Right.
My question is, Madam Hearing Officer, sorry, I'm in the court mode. Madam Chair, is that if a hate crime does occur, or just to kind of better understand what are the repercussions, are there, fines? I understand that we investigate some of those issues if they do occur. Luckily they haven't and they won't. But as far as the repercussions, I mean, what is it? Is it a fine? Is it punishable by jail? Or I just kind of want to understand the consequences of that.
Chief Callahan, do you mind responding to this?
No, my pleasure. And I mean, we had a little incident that happened, a significant incident actually, that happened involving a hate crime with neighbors. And we worked collaboratively with the district attorney's office. We also notified the attorney general's office, and we reached out as well to the actual U.S. attorney's office to, consider going from state court to federal court with the matter. So we referred it to everybody, and we took it extremely serious, and we're kind of on top of it right away. And, ultimately, the person involved, he subsequently passed away. So it was never really brought to court. But we, deal with these matters serious, and we call people right away. And, I personally made some phone calls and spoke to people in those different agencies and looking for assistance and help. So, we'll take them to the fullest extent of the law, whatever we can do. And we will branch out to other agencies. It's not one of those things that we're just going to keep internal. If that answers your question, I'm going to try to maximize what we can do on penalties with someone. And, speaking to the folks over at the U.S. Attorney's Office and at the FBI, there was some, serious penalties, jail time, that possibly could have come out of that case.
Lynn, does that answer your question?
Fully and comprehensively. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Chief. Shay, go ahead.
I just want to talk about, I feel like this is why we have that option on the website for people to just talk about their experiences in the community. Because she did mention that, Karu mentioned that although there haven't been any hate crimes, people are getting microaggressions. And although we don't know of any reported hate crimes, there may be hate crimes be happening. It's just that people are too scared to report it. So I feel like we should continue telling people to utilize the page to talk about what's going on, especially if it's a very big emergency, because I know members of the community are scared to reach out to law enforcement a lot of the time because they could get in trouble themselves. So in addition, other than having the people to utilize the website, what else? And this is a question for everyone in the panel. What else do you think we could be doing for people to comfortably report things are going on in their community without having that fear that they might get in trouble themselves.
Thank you, Shay. So so the web page that Shay is referring to is the revere.org/engage HRC. That's the page where you can tell your story and give your input about all kinds of race and equity issues. It looked like Chief Callahan, I see. I also want to just remind people, we have 25 minutes left. We would like to have a short subcommittee report from Kathy Reinstein if possible. So this is an important conversation, but we also do have to make some kind of decision about what we're doing with the statement, whether or not we're supporting the mayor and Dr. Kelly's statement, if we are doing something on our own. So I'm just reminding you of the time. It looked like we had Chief Callahan, Dr. Garcia, and Jalon.
Thank you. We just don't want to, we want to reassure people that if they're a victim of a crime, no one's looking to re-victimize them. We want to help them. And no one's going to try to cause them any more trauma than what they've been through. And we're here to assist the community. We're here to give the community service. So if somebody's a victim, we want them to come forward so we can help them. And if we don't have the answers, we will gladly find the answers. We will go to the district attorney's office. We will go to the attorney general's office. We will go wherever we have to go to get someone assistance. And that's what I want people not to be afraid of the police, because we want to help them. And, you know, we don't want to discourage them from reporting it if they have a problem. We want to know about it so we can get to the bottom of it and solve it.
Dr. Garcia, I think that you, did you want to speak, Dr. Garcia? I thought I saw you.
Yeah, just briefly. Yes, thank you. Just briefly, 2 seconds. I just want to bring people, bring to our attention that there are many crimes that are committed in the U.S. that are not reported, particularly among immigrant families. They are, I think it was Shamie brought up a very good concern. There are cultural issues, there are historical issues, there are many other issues that prevent people from reporting crimes. Just want to make sure that we are mindful about that. And I've been working in Revere for so long. Obviously, it's a great community, there's no doubt. But there are many nuances that we don't know. And people should be really, I applaud, and actually, the lady that came and spoke, had the courage to come and speak with us this evening. And that's the way it's supposed to be. We have that site, we have the Human Rights Commissioner, site where they can go and talk to us freely. And it's great that people are coming forward and really wanting to speak with us. I think that's important to recognize that. So just because it has not been officially reported, that does not mean that it's not happening.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. Could someone clarify for me, because I'm hearing this in generalities, so that people may not be reporting, they may not feel comfortable reporting because of certain cultural or historical issues. What are we talking about?
So, for example, within the Latino community, there are a lot of parents, they don't trust the police. Simple, clear, that's the way it is. They do not trust the police. There are crimes, horrendous crimes that happens in many other communities. They don't go to the police, they're not reported. It's not that I have nothing against the police institution. It's because it's some experience that even within their own culture back home, they don't trust authorities. They'll bring that into the country. So there are many other nuances that happen, unfortunately, in this country with minority population, including immigrants or even African Americans, that they probably lost trust in our institutions, and they don't report it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but just the way it is. They don't report it, because they believe that the institution does not trust them and they might face repercussion. There are other things, for example, there are a lot of mistrust in our, even in the school system. Many immigrants don't trust the school system, especially those school systems that are where you will find the majority of teachers are white. This has a long history that are basically ingrained in our DNA as a country. So that's the reason why we all need this training that we all seeking, because these are structural issues that are here that we need to uncover and address.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Garcia. I understand and agree with the structural systems. I wasn't sure if someone was talking about a person that may have some history, some criminal history, that is then afraid to go to the I wasn't sure exactly what we were talking about, and that's why I want, if someone is not a legal citizen or resident. So that's why I want to clarify, but we don't.
That could be the factor too, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Jalon.
Thank you. And thanks to the caller for calling in. I think it's a really relevant and good question and discussion. And I just wanted to share, I have had incidents on the beach where people have harassed me, have said really rude things, really racist, Islamophobia things. And I didn't want to bother to report it. I didn't think it was worth it. And I have, though. I did. I went to both our city police and I went to the state police barracks. And I'm glad, Chief Callahan, you're here and part of the commission, because, it's reassuring to think that the message from the top will be that things should be taken seriously, because in both places it wasn't taken seriously. And, I was harassed by someone up and down Revere Beach. I was pushing my son in a wheelchair. It was very upsetting. And I think I am probably one of the braver ones to go to both the local police station and the police barracks, but it's intimidating. And I think I don't have the words quite to put to it of why it's intimidating for people of color, for people of different religions and cultures, but I don't want to understate that. And I don't want to cause fear, because I love living here. I feel safe. I walk around all the time, but there are situations, and I've experienced them, that are also not good. I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
Thank you, Jalon, and thank you. Rashid?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to applaud Lisa Ben-Lil for coming up and sharing her experience. I understand that we don't want to create fear, but we have to acknowledge that racism, discrimination, hate crimes, hate speech are real in the US. And we all remember when former President Trump quoted the coronavirus as the Chinese virus. And that stuff was anticipated to happen, because they were calling for those kind of things. And we have to prevent those hate crime by addressing those hate speech, because those hate speech that cause those hate crimes, we all remember the Muslim ban. And what would you expect from those kind of hate speeches against minorities? I think things like that, and I would add my voice to Jalon. There are so many incidents that they don't report it, because first of all, people they get scared, especially undocumented people. And sometimes we heard that more often. And if I was going to report things, I would be in the police stations, maybe 10 times a month or 20 times a month, because things became normal, you know, like go back to your country. This is like something that people hear it every day, and they feel so fortunate to be part of this group, to be able to voice my opinion and to be able to represent those minorities in the city. And not long ago, a serious incident happened in our city, and we have to bring that up when someone was painting the swastika sign on a car of an Asian woman married to a Muslim man and an Arab man as well. So they were very terrorized. They couldn't report it to the police, but they wanted someone to bring it up to the people, to tell their stories so other people don't go through the same thing that they went through. And Jalon, and they want to thank Shema for all stepping up, and we worked with the police into resolving that issue. As a matter of fact, the person who committed that crime was arrested, and they want to thank my board for raising $3,000, and we gave an award of $3,000 to arrest that person. And we had some community members coming up to help the police resolve that issue. I think we should acknowledge those kinds happening in our city. We should work together. And when we hear someone's coming up and showing their concerns, we have to address those issues. You know, when Lisa Ben Lil, she was saying that her daughter concerns, if you allow me, Madam Chair, we want to hear that what her daughter has to say. And we have to address those concerns in a timely manner. And we don't want to wait until something happened to our city, then we react. We got to be proactive and that's why we are here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Rashid. And this is the value of the listening series, these kinds of discussions. Members here sharing openly, genuinely, and people from the community. This is our goal, even though we don't have them written down. So looking at the time, considering this conversation, considering that we had Lisa join us, what I need to know now is, do we feel that we can support the mayor and Dr. Kelly's statement, which does mention the HRC as the first resource, or do we feel like we want to issue a statement on our own? Yes, Dr. Garcia.
In the interest of time and considering the momentum that we have now, I would recommend, that's my personal opinion, that we support the statement that has been put out by the mayor and Dr. Kelly. I think it's a strong statement. There's no time for us to waste, and the momentum is now. I think we should put it up and basically say that we support it, fully support it. It has all the elements, all the ingredients, everything is there that we need. There's no time to waste.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dr. Garcia. And on that note, this is also an opportunity for all those watching now or who might watch later, that please know you can come to us with any of your concerns, any incidents that you're worried about, that you feel have happened, whether they're microaggressions or bigger incidents, that you can come and interact with us however it's best, through email. I'm available to talk on the phone with someone, to join a meeting. I'm sure all the commissioners here would be willing to speak with anyone from the community if you're drawn to speak with a particular commissioner. So it doesn't have to end with just us supporting the statement from the mayor and Dr. Kelly, even though Dr. Garcia, you mentioned great points, that it's very complete, very thoughtful, very thorough. And then also, in the interest of time, we don't have to put this off, but instead we can be available for the community.
I have a question, Madam Chair. Oh, I have a question, Madam Chair. So say that we do want to make our own statement. How would it work? I know you mentioned something about 2 individual commissioners working on it, but do you mind if you could just clarify?
Well, at this point, our conversation went into a different direction. Had we spent some time actually looking at the different statements and deciding from the commission what aspects we felt were important to include, and there was enough input from the commission, then a couple of commissioners could have from there taken it and had the authority to go forward. Unless the commission agrees and feels comfortable with tasking 2 commissioners to do this project, and they have the authority to finalize a statement and not wait till the next meeting, this is what we need to decide shortly. But we did not have a chance to look at the different statements and say, I really like these sentences are important. I want this included. We didn't really have a chance to do that in order for 2 commissioners to then, in a sense, take it home and put the finishing touches on it. Do you want me to put any statements up? We don't have much time left. Does the commission feel that they, without having given much input, do you feel comfortable tasking 2 commissioners with creating a statement and submitting it? Or is it enough that we simply support the mayor and Dr. Kelly's statement? Kathy?
This is a point of clarification, Madam Chair. Do we have 2 commissioners who are interested in taking on that task?
Good point, Chief Bright. Kuru, I don't know if we even did that. I don't know if you would be interested in offering. I think your input would be extremely valuable on this topic, but I don't know how you feel about it.
I mean, I'm more than happy to participate, to support and give input if we decide to have one from.
And thank you, Kuru. If we go that route, is there a second person that would be interested in working with Kuru?
I would be honored to work with Kuru to make some sort of statement on it as well.
Okay. All right, so we have 2 people. Thank you, Chief Bright, for bringing that up. And now, Kathy, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just quickly, I think too, I agree with Dr. Garcia, and maybe we should at least make a motion, or if maybe I'll make the motion to at least at the very least support the statement that the mayor and the superintendent put out. But because this is a really important issue, I mean, could we table it to the next meeting if people want to explore it further? Or considering we've already had 2 people to say that they will take it on, so we would actually move this to the next meeting anyway. So I guess that part is moot.
Yeah, and the only concern is that who knows what could be happening by next month in terms of what needs our attention. The George Floyd trial is happening. So there's a lot going on, and I'd hate to feel like we're putting out a statement that's almost after the fact in a sense. So I'm okay though with, I don't want to burden the 2 commissioners, but I also want this commission to have the opportunity if we feel that we need to, to do something on our own. So I don't know if we really need a motion if we're just supporting the statement from the mayor and Dr. Kelly. I think what we need to decide is, do we want to have our own statement that Kuru and Shay have agreed that they would work on and maybe put together within a reasonable time, like a week or so? How many people feel that it's important for us to have our own statement?
I just want to, can I,
Yes,
Madam
Dr.
Chair, can I just, so I think Karu and Cheme, right? sorry for mispronouncing your name. So I think they're right, because they're right in terms of, you know, we could potentially come up with a statement or a one, but I think for the time being, considering the momentum and maybe for the future, if something happens, maybe we can do it right away. But I think that we kind of losing the momentum here. And if there is a statement that is strong, that has been put out by a mayor of the city, I think we can go ahead and support it. And then if something happens, I hope nothing happens, but if something happens on the road, we can be a little more proactive and create one of our own.
Yes, Dr. Garcia. I think that's a good point, that there already is a strong statement and it is coming from the mayor and it is mentioning us. And so do we really is it really, it would be helpful and valuable, but is it really necessary for us to put out a statement now? And I think that's the discernment. So it sounds like, is everyone in favor that for now we are in support of the mayor and Dr. Kelly's statement, and we will sort of be vigilant and attentive that if we need to change direction, we will revisit this. And we have 4 minutes. Chief Wright. Oh, you're raising your hand that sounds like a plan. All right. Is everyone in agreement that at this moment it could change? We will support the mayor and Dr. Kelly's statement, and we will be sort of on alert if we do need to act further as a commission. Is everyone in agreement? Let the record show all are in agreement. I don't believe that really needed a motion. Okay. Unfortunately, we do not have time for Kathy's subcommittee report. I do want to thank the members of the subcommittee who are working on that. Ruben, are you there for a minute? I know you're getting ready to switch gears, but could I talk to you for a minute?
So sorry, there's a vaccination town hall. Revere TV and I are both needed in the other location in a few minutes.
So on that note, Ruben, I guess there is, in terms of open meeting laws and some of the work that subcommittee has done and some ideas, there's really nothing, like, can we follow up by email? Is there much that we can do so that subcommittee doesn't just sort of halt? Is there anything that we can do as a follow-up since we can't get to the report now?
I mean, I think a motion to approve the calendar events that Kathy has already put in would be appropriate. And then I would also personally suggest that that this committee not feel like it has to do that every month. So maybe just assign to the subcommittee the power to make those decisions. I think we could do that in the next couple of minutes, and then that would be enough for now.
So Kathy, do you think in 2 minutes you could give a very broad stroke overview? We do not have the minutes from the subcommittee because it just happened 2 nights ago.
I will send it to everyone. Basically what Ruben just said, changing the name of the calendar to the Cultural and Awareness Event Calendar, the process for reviewing and approving public submissions to be determined by the subcommittee, then reported to the HRC committee as a whole. And then we also asked if the subcommittee could meet every third Thursday of the month at 5 p.m.
Okay, so the name, there's a change in the filter on the calendar to, instead of cultural holidays and celebrations, it's cultural and awareness events.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Garcia had given a nice resource for different world and diversity calendar dates. Others, I think, have made suggestion. Anyone can make a suggestion for adding an event or an awareness day or an awareness month. And this will all sort of happen through the city calendar. It's very inclusive. Any of us can make recommendations, or the public. There's a place to sort of add an event, and it'll get, approved by Ruben or some other city staff. He's showing us here.
So could we entertain a motion to accept those and maybe a motion to adjourn all at the same time? I don't know if we can do that because we're at time now, right?
So, if we could have a motion to accept trying the city calendar with the culture and awareness dates, because that would be the first thing.
Yep. We did all these as a subcommittee and we all voted and we figured we'd give them to all of you as a whole. So
Does this full body approve that we can use the city calendar for these culture and awareness dates? So Kathy, can someone just make a motion for that?
make a motion that the city calendar be used for the cultural and awareness dates for the events that anyone can enter.
And
I second.
Who second? Carew?
Jalon.
Okay. All right. And then the other thing is, does this full body feel ready to make a motion to give authority to the subcommittee to be able to do sort of, isn't that another aspect that you wanted, Kathy, for the subcommittee to have more authority?
When the request, yes, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I didn't mean to talk over you. When the requests come in, instead of taking part of this meeting, which we have so much of an agenda, to have the subcommittee be able to do that and make the approvals of what goes in, what is real, what is not real, and then bring it to the committee of a whole.
If needed.
If needed.
So could someone request a motion that the subcommittee has the authority that when any requests come in, that they can approve them, and if they feel that they need to bring them to this board, they would make that determination.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion to allow the subcommittee to have the power to decide on these issues and then forward it to their fellow commissioners at the next monthly meeting.
And anyone second? And so are all in favor with both of those motions for the subcommittee? Raise your hand. So all in favor? No, none opposed. And I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Second that.
All right, so Chief Callahan,
Everybody.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Janine. Thank you, everyone.
Adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.